Hey guys, 5-9 Gaming here, and today we are going to be jumping into a Yugioh deck profile. We're going to be looking at the Invoker Eldlich build. Now I have not had that much experience with Yu-Gi-Oh over the course of the past like 15 to 20 years. I've recently got back into the game, just started playing again thanks to Master Duel releasing. So what I want to let you guys know about this deck specifically is that even for somebody like me, who doesn't have much experience with the Yu-Gi-Oh card game, I was still able to get to the Platinum ranking in the rating match in this game, even though I pretty much know nothing, or I knew nothing about this game when I initially started playing this deck. But luckily, we do have Sunblade here to join us, and he is much more versed in Yu-Gi-Oh than me, so why don't you go ahead and say hello?
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you, Goresh, for having me, and I am very excited to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh on this channel again. And yeah, I'm particularly excited to talk about your Eldlich Invoked control build here. Please note that this version of this deck only works with the current ban list here, because there are some cards like Max C that are banned in the TCG and unlimited in the OCG, and yeah, this game might get a new ban list on the 27th with the maintenance, so yeah, please keep that in mind.
Yeah, so I mean, what we'll do is we'll pretty much just go through the build that I used. Obviously, there's a bunch of different cards you can swap in and out depending on what the meta looks like right now. And also, obviously, it's not like required to use every single one of these cards to make this deck work. Like, for example, the core 6, cancerous cards that you see right here, Max C times 3, and then Ash Blossom times 3. You can actually get one Ash Blossom from one of the bundles, which I definitely recommend doing with some of the free gems that they give you. But then Max C, I mean, if you have 3 Max Cs, if you're somebody who got lucky or something like that, you crafted some Max Cs, then definitely include them. I would say that these 6 cards are pretty much standard in like most decks in this game. And then on top of that, Call by the Grave is probably another one that you want to potentially include. You can include 2. I believe it's limited to 2 copies. So you can include those if you want as well. But basically the main premise behind the archetype of this deck is you're making use of Eldlich the Golden Lord. He is your main monster that you want to be summoning over and over again, and this is a card that has a lot of different ways to interact with the game, both in your hand, in the graveyard, and of course on the battlefield as well. Something else you might notice as well is that there's not that many monsters in this deck, which is a little bit weird considering Yu-Gi-Oh is a game all about monsters fighting each other. But the way that this deck functions is due to a lot of the ways that the trap cards interact with the board, right? You see I have 3 copies of Guardian of the Golden Land, I have 3 copies of Huaquero of the Golden Land, and then I have 3 copies of Conquistador of the Golden Land. These are all cards that you can actually summon as monster cards in your monster zone, and they all have different effects, but they're all dependent on you actually having an Eldlich the Golden Lord up on your side of the field. And there's a bunch of different ways you can summon this card. I'm just going to read the text real quick just so that you guys understand how this works, because this is, again, the most important part of this deck by far. You can send this card and 1 spell trap card from your hand to the graveyard, then target 1 card on the field, send it to the graveyard. If this card is in your graveyard, you can send 1 spell/trap card you control to the graveyard, add this card to your hand, and then you can special summon 1 zombie monster from your hand. And if you do, until the end of your opponent's turn, it gains 1,000 attack and defense and cannot be destroyed by card effects. You can actually special summon this card from your deck. The main way that I've actually summoned this card is through that way, plus this is probably one of the more important cards that you can draw from your deck, which is the Elixir of Black Awakening. If you start with this turn 1, you're in a really good spot already, because this allows you just to summon one of these Golden Lords right away in defense mode, and then you can start going off with some of the other cards that you have available to you. Anything you want to add on to that, just about the Golden Lord specifically?
No, you're absolutely right. I've seen some builds with people who play like 20 trap cards in this game. Yeah, very, very interesting deck, the Eldlich one, but yeah, I cannot add anything more to that outside of the amount of trap cards in the game, yeah.
Yeah, this deck runs a lot of trap cards. But on top of that, the way that I sort of spun this deck to be a bit different than I think the standard build of Eldlich is adding the Invoker package, which is these 3 Alistair the Invoker cards. Plus, you're also going to be running 2 Invocations, and then you're going to be running 2 Magical Meltdowns. The way this card works, the Magical Meltdown card, is it's a field spell, so it's going to be active on the left side of your screen. And it's sort of just going to be up as long as you leave it there. And basically what this allows you to do is it allows you to force draw an Alistair from your deck. You play Alistair, you force draw one of your invocations, and then you can use the invocation to fusion summon pretty much the best monster in the entire deck, which is Eldlich the Mad, Golden Lord. And the way that you summon this guy is you have to use 2 Eldlich the Golden Lords from your hand, or if this guy's on the field, you can use one of him plus one of your trap cards that is acting as a monster, because these are technically zombies, and it takes Eldlich plus 1 level 5 or higher zombie monster, which all of these are down here. So if you get one of these cards up as a monster card plus Eldlich is on your field, you can utilize 7 cities of the Golden Land. Basically allows you to perform fusion. That's pretty simple. And once you get this guy up, you pretty much win the duel. Again, coming from me, who's not really that experienced with Yu-Gi-Oh, I've summoned this guy like 25 times or something in ranked duels, and I think I've probably won 24 out of 25 of those duels. He can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, and you can actually tribute one of your allied zombie monsters, and then you can take control of an enemy monster. So if you want to push for lethal damage and you have like just enough to get past that monster and you know, finish the duel, you can do that. But yeah, the biggest part about this guy is that he cannot be destroyed by card effects, which is obviously one of the most powerful effects in the game. The only downside to this card, I would say, and that something that I've ran into once, I think, ever, and which is the one that I lost, the one duel that I lost with this card that I can remember right now, is an effect that actually shuffles him back into your extra deck. Because technically it's not destroying him, so he can still be affected by that ability. And the reason why that's really bad is because you only really have one of these, the 7 cities of the Golden Land, which means you can only really perform fusion once, unless you get 2 of these in your hand and then you perform a fusion with Invocation, but it's pretty tough to do that multiple times in one duel. And then we come down to some of these other cards. We have the XYZ cards over here. I don't know, you want to jump in for these?
Yeah, let's kick things off. So with that said, let's move on to the next fusion cards here. And of course, because Goresh is making use of Invocation, which is at 2, he is playing those invoked monsters here, like Invoked Cocytus at 1. He is using Invoked Trio at 1. And he's also making use of Caliga and Mekabra, but Mekabra is at 3 here for Goresh. And all of those monsters have really good effects, like Trio can attack all monsters on the opponent's side of the field and it does piercing damage. Cocytus cannot be destroyed by opponent card effects. So pretty amazing cards. Thanks to Invocation, you can bring those out eventually depending on the cards your opponent is using. So definitely stay alert here and bring those cards out at the right time. So with that said, we will move on to the XYZ monsters, and because Goresh is making use of those rank 10 monsters, he is using cards like Super Dreadnought, Well Cannon, Gustav Max. And yeah, this card is pretty straightforward, level 10 monster here with 3000 attack. And yeah, you can detach 1 material from this card and inflict 2000 damage to your opponent, but only once per turn, that's important. But yeah, this is amazing, and you can use this card to bring out Super Dreadnought, Rail Cannon, Juggernaut Liebe. This card is amazing too. You can detach 1 material from this card and it gains 2000 attack. Also for the rest of this turn, you can only declare an attack with this card. During each battle phase, this card can make attacks on monsters up to the number of materials it has +1. So this is pretty important. Definitely make use of that if you can. And yeah, with that, we'll continue with the 3 remaining Link monsters here. And the first one I am going to talk about is none other than the Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. And yeah, I love this card because this is such a throwback to the old days, to the current Gold format, because I am playing a Warrior Chaos format and I love the Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning, the old effect monster from Invasion of Chaos. And yeah, you can see him in this Link monster as well, because yeah, he's amazing. And I talked to Goresh, I asked him, like, do you have 3 monsters with different names on the field sometimes? And he said, yes, I have. So I told him to bring in this card. I think this is a pretty good wild card here and there. This Blackluster Soldier is amazing because, yeah, if this card was Link summoned using a level 7 or higher monster as material, your opponent cannot target it with card effects. Also, it cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects, so that is pretty good. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can activate one of these effects, and this is a huge throwback to the old days, as I said. The first effect is it gains 1500 attack. The second one is this card can make a second attack during the battle phase of your next turn, or you can banish 1 card on the field. So yeah, I love this card. Pretty useful if you are playing 3 monsters at the same time on a regular basis. Much love to the Blackluster Soldier. So next up, we have Almirage, and Almirage is pretty much a staple Link monster in almost every deck, and it can protect you from almost everything, so you should definitely make use of this card here. I don't have to explain it much, but yeah, it provides good protection to a lot of monsters. So yeah, with that, we'll move on to the final card, and this is Secure Gardener, and you can bring out Secure Gardener with one Cyberus Link monster, and thankfully Almirage is a Cyberus Link monster, so there are situations where you want to protect yourself. This is its effect. After this card is special summoned, you take no effect damage for the rest of this turn. Once per turn, if you would take battle damage or effect damage, you take no damage. So this is amazing if you have like Almirage in your deck, if you have a Cyberus Link monster in your deck. There are niche situations where you want to make use of him. And yeah, there's one final slot that you can use, like Nightmare Unicorn is definitely a card that I could recommend here. Those Nightmare units are always pretty good. So yeah, in the past, Goresh had Anaconda in this extra deck, and yeah, Anaconda unfortunately doesn't help because it cannot send invocations to the graveyard. So that is pretty important. Don't put Anaconda in this extra deck to send this card to the grave. So yeah, we are done with the extra deck here.
The new ban list might come out very soon, so this deck might not work in the future, but yeah, I'm sure Goresh and me will update this video once we get the new ban list, if it gets implemented into the game. And yeah, just one shout out to Infinite Impermanence. I just love this card.
Yeah, Infinite Impermanence, pretty much, you know, basic standard card. A lot of you guys should probably know at this point. Same thing with Skill Drain. And I guess sort of the last thing just to mention is just, again, I want to emphasize the ease of playing this deck. I am pretty much a gigantic noob at Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm not afraid to admit that. And I was able to take this deck to Platinum rank. So basically the strategy that I used was, I don't know what my opponent's playing. I'm just going to play Solitaire, destroy their monsters with Golden Lord, play all my trap cards, activate their effects, summon as many Golden Lords as I can, get the fusion out, and then win the game. But, you know, obviously, like we just talked about, once the ban list comes out, and if anything has changed, we will update you guys and let you know, what you should look to replace with what. In terms of, like, actually pulling for cards in this deck, I would say that it's not that difficult to, like, start on the right foot with this deck either, just because this Eldlich card is in one of the main packs that's up right now, which is the Stalwart Force pack. And then it's also available in the Immortal Royalty, which has a lot of the other Eldlich cards in there. But if you're pulling for, like, you know, something else in the Stalwart Force pack, and you end up pulling an Eldlich, the Golden Lord, you know, maybe you want to give this deck a try. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this deck. If you guys decide to use this and rank up, I wish you guys good luck. If you have any questions, let us know down below. And you have anything else you want to let them know before we get out of here?
If you want to see other deck profiles made by us, just let us know in the comment section down below. We are actually working on an Obelisk deck, as I said before, and we will publish an Exodia deck profile as well, pre-ban list and post-ban list. So stay tuned for that, because I'm a sucker for Exodia. That's it.
All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and if you guys like this stuff, let us down below what deck you're running for your grind in the ranked mode in Master Duel. Make sure to like and subscribe as usual, and we'll see you all in the next one.